You can't count on nobody or nothing in this crazy world.
1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, rock. 5, 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, rock. 9, 10, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, rock. We're gonna rock around the clock tonight.
It was a time and a place of gang wars and limited futures, wannabe hoods and wasted lives. You had to fight back or give up your lunch money. Motorcycle jackets and boots with fake rubies, peg pants, DA haircuts and zip guns. Dry humping in the hallways and doing the fish. Not good morning, but what number came in? You know you're going nowhere, so school is a drag. The pressure is on to beat nobody. But out of this time and place, in the Bronx of the 1950s, came 4 Italian-American teenagers from the Belmont section of the Bronx who became part of rock and roll history.
Ladies and gentlemen, from our very first rock and roll revival, I must have received 100, 200, 300 letters every single show saying, "Can't you get Dion and the Belmonts back together?" Dion said yes, the Belmonts said yes. Ladies and gentlemen, Dion and the Belmonts.
Somebody said there's a guy out in the foyer there, he wants to talk to you. And in those days, as I said, with the gang wars, you had to be very careful.
Yeah.
But I went out there and there's this curly-headed blonde guy looking at me. He says, "You Angelo?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "You know Freddie and Carlo?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "Well, I'm putting the group together." He says, "You want to come over my house? You know, maybe we'll get something going."
I recruited the best doo-wop singers in my neighborhood. One guy was an opera singer, Angelo DeLeo. Freddie Milano knew a lot about harmonies, just intuitively. He was gifted. And Carlo Mastrangelo was a jazz drummer who could scat and sing like nobody's business.
Unfortunately, the powers to be at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame are listening to so-called rock experts instead of the music, and have never considered this seminal vocal group that is part of rock and roll history for induction. Napoleon once said, "History is a lie agreed upon," and it certainly looks that way. Even today, few groups can equal the worldwide impact of Dion and the Belmonts.
I love you like I do. I do. Don't know why I love you. Don't know why I care. I just want your love to share. I wonder why I love you like I do. Is it because I think you love me too? I wonder why. Each time we have a quarrel, it almost breaks my heart.
Why must I be a teenager in love? One day I feel so happy. Next
According to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, there are over 100 groups who are more deserving than Dion and the Belmonts and have been inducted into the Hall of Fame, as well as 500 songs on Rolling Stone's Greatest Songs list that are more deserving than Teenager in Love, including I Want to Be Your Dog by Iggy Pop and the Stooges. Who are these so-called voting committees who originally inducted Smokey Robinson but left out the Miracles? This group of so-called experts who vote in artists who never had one hit record, or other favorites of the rock intelligentsia, who allow artists hyped by Rolling Stone magazine to jump to the front of the line. The same critics who place Bob Dylan ahead of Elvis for greatest artist.
Step on my blue suede shoe. Well, you can do it
anything but to hear my blues ways.
Who were these critics that inducted Dion into the Hall of Fame, which is well-deserved, but left out the Belmonts?
Tell me why the stars in the sky.
In short, ignoring the generation that supported the Alan Freed shows, touring dance parties, and forced disc jockeys to play their kind of music. The music that became rock and roll. Without the 1950s generation, there would be no Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Hello, everybody. How are y'all? This is yours truly, Alan Freed. Get your dancing shoes on and welcome to the Rock and Roll Dance Party.
This is the audience that made rock and roll an American reality. The 1950s generation. The rock and roll generation. And Dion and the Belmonts were an overwhelming favorite. Critics have called them the defining vocal group of the 1950s. Over the years, there have been a lot of pretend Belmonts.
So happy, next day I feel so sad. I guess I'll learn to take the good with the bad. 'Cause each night I ask the stars above, why must I be a teenager in love?
But there's only one group called the Belmonts, who charted 9 singles in the top 40 and 2 in the top 10. The Belmonts then followed with 7 songs in the Hot 100. Not to mention creating one of the greatest intros to a recording in the history of Top 40, as well as being an American Bandstand winner of Best New Vocal Group of the Year. Dion and the Belmonts charted 856 radio station surveys across the United States during the 1950s and 1960s. Reuniting in 1966 for an album, they delivered 2 top-of-the-pop hits in England. In 2000, the Belmonts were inducted in the Vocal Group Hall of Fame. Just how talented were these 4 Italian Americans from the Bronx? Talented enough to be the first white group to play the Apollo. Dion was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1989. The Belmonts were not. Fred Milano's second tenor has died. There are only 2 original members left of the Belmonts. There are Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers, Little Anthony and the Imperials,
she's in love, don't stand in your way. Well, let me take
Martha and the Vandellas, but no Dion and the Belmonts.
I wonder why I exploded on the street like a cannon shot. In my Bronx neighborhood, the song was everywhere. Coming out of every radio, every record player, every open car door. These were our guys, and they were hitting the big time. Every kid did his 5 and dime imitation of Collis's bass intro that became one of the signature sounds of the rock and roll age. Dion and the Belmonts came off the starting line in full stride and never looked back.
Contact the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and tell them to start listening to the music instead of listening to so-called rock experts from the West Coast. Ask them to take another look at Dion and the Belmonts as a group. Because we believe if Dion and the Belmonts aren't included in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, then maybe it should be called the Rock and Roll Hall of Shame.
I told my friends that we would never part. sad.